What's a system of equations? Several equations that? I'm asking about a system of equations. They're working together, and we're looking for the point of intersection, right? Good. Okay, so then what's a system of inequalities? Multiple inequalities that work together. What are we looking for as an answer? An area. Because when we graph an equation, we graph a line, right? Especially if we're talking about a coordinate plane, right? But if I graph an inequality, what do? I graph and shade. So if I'm shading multiple inequalities, I'm looking for the area where they're all shaded, right? Where they overlap, where all the shading overlaps. Okay? So let's start out kind of easy here. Sorry, that's a y. Y is greater than or equal to 3, and x is less than 2. So how do I graph the line y is greater than or equal to 3? When there's only one variable, it's either horizontal or vertical, right? So this one is crossing the y-axis at 3. It's crossing the y-axis at 3. It is horizontal, right? Now, do I draw a line? Or do I draw a dotted line? Why would I draw a line? It's greater than or equal to. Okay? That's not too bad, is it? Okay. Now, am I going to shade above or below? Why would I shade above? Except I'm not actually going to shade yet. Okay? Porque, that's a good question. Sometimes I get lost in my shading. So right now, I'm just going to tell myself where to shade. I'm going to tell myself, if I was going to shade, I would shade above this line. I'm going to give myself a number of arrows just so I remember that it's above the line. You okay with that? How do I graph the second inequality? It crosses the x-axis at 2. Is this a solid line or a dotted line? It is a dotted line. Am I shading to the left or to the right? Okay, well, the good news is that one of those is correct. It's either the left or the right. Okay? It is less than. What side of the line do you think is less than the line? To the left. Now, do I need to draw any arrows down here? No, I already know that's not part of the shaded area, right? So I need to draw my arrows right there. Now that I'm done graphing my system of inequalities, now I want to shade. Where am I going to shade? Where all the arrows are telling me to, right? So do you see how someone particular could get lost in their shading? If they shaded up here and then shaded over here, well, maybe I accidentally shaded part darker. Maybe I think that's the part. That you're allowed to shade, for the record. I just don't, because I like to tell myself where to shade in the end. Okay? Any questions about that? What about this system right here? What, we're all freaking out because there's 3? No. We don't freak out because there's 3. What do? I just graph them one at a time. How do I graph the top one? Start at 3 on the y-axis, because it's called the y-intercept for a reason. And then up to over which direction? Up to right 1. or down 2, left 1. What kind of line is this? How do you know it's dotted? Because it's just less than. It's not less than or equal to, right? Now, where am I going to shade? So I have two options, right? I have above the line or below the line. Where is above the line? Can you tell that this is above the line? Can you tell that this is below the line? Where do you think I would shade if it's less than? Below the line. But what if you didn't know? What if you weren't positive? If you weren't positive, here's what you should do. Choose a point that's on the graph that's not on the line. 0, 0 is the best choice as long as it's not on the line. Substitute it into the equation. 0 here, a 0 here. 0 is less than 3. Is 0 less than 3? That is a true statement, then that's where I should shade. And it turns out when I said it's less than, so I shade below, that turned out to be correct, didn't it? Okay? How do I graph the second inequality? Draw a vertical line at -2 because it's crossing the x-axis at -2. And what kind of line do I draw? A solid line. A solid vertical line. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Which direction would I shade? To the right. This is not the cha-cha slide, guys. It's okay. No hops. No hops. All right, how about here? How about the third equation? Inequality, excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's crossing the y-axis at 6. And because it's just less than, it is a dotted line or a dashed line. And I shade. Why? Okay, no more from you. You got this. You be quiet for now. You're not in trouble. Now that I've shaded all of my inequalities, now that I've graphed all my inequalities, now I have to shade. Where are all my arrows pointing? Can I tell you a really bad habit to get into? If all my equations make a triangle, shade in the triangle. That's a very bad habit to get into. Because, yes, there's a triangle here. Is that what I'm shading? Don't automatically assume, please, that you shade in the triangle just because a triangle shows up out of the inequalities. Okay? It's below the horizontal line, it's to the right of the vertical line, and it's below the diagonal line. So this is where I'm shading, isn't it? Now we're going to take this one a step further. And I'm going to say, who should I say? Kent. Kent, can you tell me one possible solution to this system of inequalities? Kent, why would you choose 0, 0? It is in the shaded area, so is that a possible solution to this system? How could I prove, besides looking at the graph, how could I prove that this point is a solution to this system? So 0 is less than 3. That's true. 0 is greater than -2. That's true. 0 is less than 6. Is this a possible solution to this system? So someone else, which will be Caleb, tell me another possible solution. And don't be silly and choose the point that's right beside that one. 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. Is that a possible point of a solution? 5, -4. Good. Alyssa, one more. 7, negative 8, so down here somewhere? Is that a possible point? Yeah, for sure. May I please try to trick you? Yes? Okay. I want to ask you about 2 specific points. Okay? The first specific point that I want to ask about is 3, 6. And the second specific point I want to ask you about is negative 2, negative 5. I want to know if those 2 points are possible solutions. 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 6 is right there. It is on the line. And that line is dotted. So that means it's not included. So is that point, a possible solution? No. What about negative 2, negative 5? That point is also on the line. But the line is solid, so it is included. So is negative 2, negative 5 a possible solution? Yes. Do you see the difference? Okay. Those are 2 of the type of examples of what is on your homework today. And here is the third. Give me just a second, please. All right, here's the third example of stuff that's on your homework tonight. I told you a minute ago to be careful on this one, that you don't always assume that the triangle is the shaded area, right? But is it allowed to be? Yes. So in the top 2, the question was, what does the system look like? What is the solution to the system of inequalities? What are the directions on this problem? Write the system. Yeah, what are the inequalities? So these top 2, it gives you the inequalities and asks for the graph. This bottom one gives you the graph and asks for the inequalities. Okay, I'll hold it still so you can graph it. Then let's talk real quick. I'll zoom in just real quick so you can see it a little bit better. And then as we write it, I think that'll help. Is that fair? So is it okay if we start with this inequality right here? I'll number them just so you know which one we're talking about. Is that okay? All right. What's the equation? Excuse me. What's the inequality of this line right here? Well, first of all, it's horizontal, so it's crossing the y-axis at negative 2. And I shaded above. So what symbol goes here? Greater than. Is it greater than or equal? Just greater than, because it is a dotted line or dashed line, right? Okay. Let's do this one second. Is that okay with you? What's the equation of that line? Excuse me, inequality. I keep saying equation. I hope you know what I mean. I apologize. I need to correct my vocabulary. This is a horizontal line that's crossing the x-axis at 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4. And I shaded to the right, so that is greater than. Let's make this diagonal line the third line that we write the inequality for. 1, 2, 3. The y-intercept is 3. What's the slope? Oh, see, that's what I wanted to hear. Okay, people have guessed 1 already, right? Well, I rose 1 and ran 1, right? So shouldn't that be 1? Except it's falling, right? It's decreasing, so that is definitely negative 1x. Pardon? From left to right, yeah, that's okay. From left to right is decreasing. So I shaded above or below it? Below it, so it is less than. And why is it or equal to? Because it's a solid line. Sorry, you can't see the 3. Is that better? So if I give you a system, can you graph it for me? If I give you a graph, can you write the system? Good. Mark, is that go?